One of my clients was trying to save time and money with an acquisition. And through that process, we were able to save them time in calendar days, but we were also able to save them money with respect to bringing in professional CPAs and attorneys. Because as soon as you bring the attorneys and CPAs involved, the clock is ticking and the cash register is feeding money.
You were telling me about a client that they were not only combining entities, but they were adding services. How do you structure something like this before you call the lawyers?
It's a definite challenge, especially when you've got two founders in the room building this structure. So what we were able to do as a fractional COO, I was able to come in and pull the visionary ideas apart from both of them and put them into a cohesive plan that actually made sense to the attorneys and the CPAs.
Were the visionaries pretty aligned or kind of misaligned with what they had expectations of?
No, it was interesting. They were actually aligned. It was they couldn't get the words out on paper to actually make sense. So what I find a lot of times, especially when you're working with two visionaries together, is there's a lot of times alignment, but it's the communication and it's the clarity of getting it on a document, getting it on a visual to make it make sense to both of them.
What breaks first when partners merge two companies without a objective operator to kind of mediate that conversation?
The cash flow breaks first because they're spending money, spinning their wheels, basically trying to get a transaction done. What I've found is if I can work and bring clarity and bring a clear picture of what that transaction needs to look like before you bring other entities, other resources in, it can save time and money.
Were there any disagreements that took place during those sessions?
Sure. There's absolutely going to be disagreements. There's going to be different mindsets, different focuses, different desires in the transaction. But that's part of the process. I have learned over the years, both parties need to win. If one side gets the upper hand, then it's not really a good agreement. If both sides get what they want out of it, then it turns into a long-term relationship where both parties are happy.
So you're the Fractionator Negotiator.
The Fractionator Negotiator.
Give us an example of what one of those disagreements was and how you were able to help them resolve it.
There's definitely disagreements in pay structure and how each person is going to get paid, and also how is each person going to own different pieces of the business. So what is the ownership structure of the percentage? When you're dealing with multiple entities, you've got two people coming together that typically owned 100% of each entity. Now you're creating a combined entity. Maybe you're creating a holding company. You're also creating other entities along with that. What does that ownership structure look like? And who owns what? And what percentages and how those profits are going to be distributed? Those are things that have to be delicately discussed and worked through, because you got two proud people coming to the table that are coming from different directions that know that if they come together, that the combined is going to be a better. It's better to own 40% of something that is going to be worth 10x what you have right now than it is to own 100% of something that's only worth 1x.
When you look at what you're doing as the fractionator versus what a lawyer is doing, kind of tell us those different nuances.
I love lawyers. I really do.
Yeah.
I love CPAs as well. But oftentimes, especially when you're dealing with two lawyers, they're looking out for the best interest for their client and their individual client. And that is what they're supposed to do. But they can cloud the bigger picture. Just like in a company that doesn't have a clear vision, if everybody is operating under their own assumptions and their own desires, they're not going to actually move the organization forward. But if everybody agrees with the vision and agrees with where the organization is going, agrees with where this acquisition is going, and they're aligned, then the attorneys make it much easier to get their job done.
So it's almost like you have teamwork, then you have the lawyers going on defense to check little nuances.
Correct. Two CPAs and two attorneys. How do you get all those people to work together? Well, you have to have a clear vision.
Yeah.
Just like in an organization, how do you get the ops manager, the finance manager, the sales manager to work together? If you don't have a clear vision and a clearly documented vision on where the organization is going, they're not going to work together.
Yeah,
they're going to be always competing.
Yeah, just playing, exactly, competing, a ton of defense, and no great vision, no excitement. So you kind of bring that excitement, that organization, that plan, and then the lawyers can come in and do what they're good, really, really good at. And the CPAs, of course.
That's right.
You talked about saving money, saving time. Obviously, those two can kind of be hand in hand. When people are debating the structure of a company, that sounds much more like a defensive mechanism. So explain how money and time is wasted when it's focused on a debate rather than vision casting.
A debate doesn't move the ball forward. It's always defense. And so what I like to do is get two people in the room, get them on the same side of the table. I've used this illustration in quarterly conversations or performance reviews. I was talking to a client last week, and one of the things I said is, don't have a conversation with you on the other side of your desk and them sitting as a guest in your office. Go sit at a conference table and don't sit across from each other like we're sitting across from each other. Sit side by side or sit corner to corner, because when you do that, you reduce the level of friction, you reduce the level of animosity, where you guys are working together rather than working apart. That's one of the things I like about this process, is actually getting entrepreneurs together, especially two visionaries, get them on the same side of the table to have a conversation rather than on opposing sides with opposing counsel. This is not a football game. It's almost like a rugby team where you're supposed to be locking arms and moving forward.
The best deals are signed on a golf course.
Side
by side, relaxed, open-minded.
I wish I was good at golf, because I would do more deals on the golf course.
Right? Hey, you can do some bass deals.
There you go. That's
if they don't like de-hooking those bass, you got them covered.
I'll take care of it.
Why does outside clarity matter when founders are too close to the deal, too close to the details?
If I can use my illustration, you can't see the forest for the trees. No pun intended, but a little bit of pun intended. Founders are too close to their babies. They love their babies. And I say their babies as their businesses. And so when you've got two founders coming together that both love their baby, and their baby is perfect, an outside perspective can help them take apart the businesses, take the best of both to make the best combination between both of them. What does one business do great versus another business? What do they do great? How do you get the best of both of those businesses to create a better organization by bringing them together? They're coming together because they have a gap. They're coming together because they can't do it as good as they could together. So how do you figure out what are the nuances between those two businesses to help them excel?
Maybe somebody's really good at in-person conversations. The other person's really good at technology.
Maybe some person has a great finance team. Maybe another person has the great sales team. So how do you take the best practices out of both of those businesses to merge that together?
You talk about taking a month worth of work and compressing it into 2 days. What is the benefit of that versus taking time, dwelling on it, versus compacting it and getting a lot done in a short period of time?
This particular project, it was 2 days over 2 weeks. So it was two different focus days over 2 weeks. Calendar-wise, it was 2 weeks. Month-wise, it would have taken them a month every day to work through all this if they had not had an outside perspective. Month of emails, month of lawyers going back and forth, probably would have taken more than a month. When you can be able to compress and work on focused, dedicated times, kind of like a clarity break. If you can take time to sit and stop and turn off your phone notifications, your doorbell notifications, all the different distractions, and really focus on a plan to merge those businesses together, you can get more accomplished than having email change. And that was one of the things they talked about, was the email change that were going back and forth over time between the lawyers and the CPAs, and then the CPAs, and then back to the lawyers. How do you cut the noise and just get it to where let's focus on what the deal needs to look like, and then let's bring in the rest of the team and show them what we're going to do. And then they can cross the I's and dot the T's. Or cross the T's and dot the I's. Something like that.
I've heard it both ways. Were there details that one of the founders got hung up on that kind of delayed that progress?
Sure. That's part of the process is that, there are going to be sacred cows in any business transaction. That's what needs to be talked through, that needs to be worked through. And that's, again, why I like putting people in a room, putting them on the same side of the table and working it out as a collaborative project rather than firing emails back and forth and working through attorneys without actually talking to each other.
When combining two businesses, is it your goal to get them on the same team as quickly as possible, not looking at this as two separate businesses coming together, but the best of two businesses coming together?
Yeah, it's incredibly valuable to get people, especially two founders, to be aligned on the same team. They've been independent, they've been solopreneurs, or they've been running their businesses and making all decisions. But to get that structure to where they are aligned and sharing the same vision, that's where the magic happens. If you're looking to acquire a business or merge two businesses together, you really need to get an outside counsel to help you work through the transaction at a high level and work through the nuances of the deal. Do that before you bring in the attorneys and the CPAs. And that's where I can come in and help.